Welcome to the Highly Effective Man podcast, hosted by former Navy SEAL turned life and fitness coach. I'm your host, JP Bolwan. This podcast is your resource for unlocking the healthiest, most productive, and highly effective man within you. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Highly Effective Man podcast. I'm your host, JP, and I'm excited to talk to you guys today. We're going to talk about what I believe is the number one thing that you can do to improve your results, to have success in whatever it is that you are pursuing. Okay, so many of you guys know that I've been involved with the fitness industry in some capacity or coaching over the last 17 years, and there's a lot of things that go into being the best athlete, being the best person that you can be, and specifically when we're talking about building your body to be athletic. Nutrition is important. Exercise is important. Having an unstoppable mindset is super important. But the one thing that I'm about to share with you guys today is the ultimate game changer. And, like I said, I've coached over the last 17 years in some capacity or another, whether it's at a CrossFit gym, teaching CrossFit all around the world, in the college strength and conditioning environment at the University of San Diego. And so when I'm talking to, one of the things that I like to talk to athletes about, especially if they're looking to increase their speed, right, their sprint speed. There's two things that come into play when we're talking about sprint speed. One is stride length, and the other is stride frequency, right? So stride length is, how far is it between, your foot contacts the ground and to the next time it contacts the ground. If you can lengthen that without ruining your form, you can increase your speed, even if the stride frequency is the same. If you can keep the stride length the same and increase the frequency, meaning the turnover is faster, now you can also increase the speed, okay? So one of the things that we can do to increase speed, and specifically stride length, is we can look at the flexibility of the athlete or the individual, right? And it wasn't very surprising many times to see athletes that had tight hips or tight ankles and things like that. And what I would express to them was that their tight ankles and their tight hips were essentially brakes on their system, right? So like if you have a car, you have a brake or an emergency brake, and if you go to drive your car and that emergency brake is on, you notice it right away. And once you let go of the brake, now the car moves much faster, right? Well, tight muscles are the same thing, right? And if you have tight ankles and tight hips and you're trying to sprint, well, your stride length is going to be shorter, right? And you'll notice that you can't get full extension and you can't move as fast as you potentially could if your muscles were loose and not being held back. Well, this isn't just in like the physical body. Many people are being held back by a psychological tight muscle or, psychological brake. And this is where old habits, old stories that we tell ourselves, these types of things are the things that hold so many people back. Like you'll hear statements like, well, I just can't do that. I've never done that before. Or that's just not me. I always do this, or I always do that. Okay. And these are all statements that are red flags to me that say, this is my story. This is who I am, and there's nothing that I can do about it. Well, just like you can loosen up a muscle, just like you can let go of the emergency brake on your car when you're driving, as soon as you do that, now you're setting yourself free, right? When you let go of these stories that you tell yourself And it's just as easy, right? Like instead of ignoring it or continuously telling yourself these things, you can just let them go. You can go deep inside them, analyze them, and change the story and let it go, right? And I'll tell you the thing that makes the biggest difference when I'm working with my clients now is when we can let go of these old stories, right? Because as soon as we let go of these old stories, it's like a whole new person. People live in these internal prisons that they've created for themselves by telling stories to themselves like, well, I'm just not somebody that exercises all the time, or I'm just not somebody that can follow through on a diet. I'm not somebody that can't drink. I'm not somebody that is driven like that. And every time you tell yourself that, you're just solidifying that story. So one of the things that you can do is to look at the story that you're telling yourself and just call it for what it is. It's bullshit. It's the past. Because you can make up your mind today to be different. Just because you did something yesterday doesn't mean you're going to do it again today. Yeah, you've probably shown yourself evidence that that's what you've done, but that's because you keep telling yourself the same story. So if you want to let go of the break, and if you want to make some differences, you got to learn to let go of those stories. And that's the work that I do with many of my clients, is seeing what is coming up, having them talk, calling them out on their bullshit, and then changing the story. And just like, stretching a muscle, it doesn't happen overnight, but the more you do it and the more often you become aware of this story that you've been telling yourself, the easier it is to let it go or to change the story. And once you can do that, now there's nothing that can stop you. And it can be night and day difference when somebody has completely let go of a story that they've been telling themselves about how they can't do this and they can't do that, right? There's a quote that says, it says something like, the only limits to what we're capable of are the ones that we acknowledge, right? So if I put a limit on myself and saying that I can't do this and I can't do that, well, of course I can't do that because I've told myself I can't do that. But if I realize that today is different and that today I can make new decisions and make new choices, well, then there is no limit, right? If I would have believed that I couldn't play college football in my 30s, how many people do you think that I told that I was going to play college football when I was in my 30s were like, okay, yeah, go for it. You got this. Not many. I'll tell you that. That's for sure. People thought I was crazy saying that I was going to go play college football in my 30s. People thought I was crazy when I said I was going to become a Navy SEAL, right? It's not like I'm 6 foot and I'm running like a 4.3 and, 200 and some pounds. Like I'm 5'6", at the time I was 180 some pounds. And it's like, okay, dude, you're 30 some years old and you're going to go play college ball. Okay. I wouldn't even take that bet. All right. But if I would acknowledge that and said, yeah, you're right, I can't do that, I immediately put a limit on what I can do. And I recognized that and I said, no, you know what? I can do that. I can do anything I put my mind to. And when you truly believe that, when you truly believe that you can make a decision and you can stick to it and you can do anything that you want, the world opens up to you and nothing will stop you. If you have any goals or dreams of doing something, or maybe you've let some of these goals and dreams go because you think it's too late, or I don't know if I can do it, fuck that. Make up your mind and go after it. Okay? Make the decision today to let go of any stories that you've been telling yourself, because the past is the past. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters but what you do today. And what you do today will be the news story that you create for yourself. Okay? Take the emergency brake off, let go of the story, and start making the decisions that are going to take you towards your result. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Let's go. Thank you for listening to the Highly Effective Man podcast. If you enjoyed or learned something on this episode, do me a favor and share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. And one last thing, if you want to work with me as your coach to help you get fit, be more productive, and in general, just be the most effective version of yourself, head over to my site, higherlevelcoaching.co. Once again, that's higherlevelcoaching.co, and schedule a call with me there. Thank you again. Let's go.